Hi, everybody. It's Maxine Taylor with another Trumpology report for today, the day before Venus goes direct and Mercury goes retrograde. Today is November 15th, 2018. And as usual, there's another news cycle going on. And I want to preface it by explaining why I think it's been crazy this particular week, because I think there's good reason. You remember when I did this diurnal for Trump for the day of the election, the midterms, and I said, look over here, this is the house of his open enemies. It's the other people in his life. And since we were talking about the midterm elections, the sun, the giver of life, is on the seventh cusp of the diurnal chart, which you know I adore these charts because they tell it like it is. The seventh house of other people. Now, some of you have said, well, Trump wasn't running. How could that help the Democrats, because they are the open enemies, his open enemies, the other people? No, he wasn't on the ballot, but it was because he endorsed so many candidates. It was, and because of his having been president for 2 years, it was a referendum, and it said it went to the other guy. And then on the 7th and the 8th, he had the South Node, transiting South Node, and progressed, I see, on his second cusp of money and possessions. And it's not just money and possessions, it's what you get. And so these indicate losses. And of course, the midterms are continuing because of runoffs, because of ballots, etc. I don't even want to go into that. You know what's going on. And so what it shows is that the other guys did well with the progressed midheaven on the diurnal 8th cusp of they got what they wanted, and the transiting north node. So it was more of a victory for the Democrats than for him. And this was understandably very upsetting to him. So, press conference. And at the press conference, Jim Acosta asked Trump some questions that Trump didn't like. You know that. We've all seen it. And was accused of pushing an intern. And we looked at the video that was submitted, and everybody drew their own conclusions, okay? What I thought we would talk about today, and I'm going to keep this very, very simple because there's lots going on in these comparison charts. I thought it would be interesting to compare Trump's chart to CNN's chart, because CNN is now suing the White House and is joined by many other communications networks in support of this lawsuit. So we'll have another story, of course, sometime soon. And so I also would like to compare Acosta's chart to Trump's chart and vice versa. Unfortunately, we do not have a birth time for Jim Acosta, but I will show you what Jim triggers in Trump's chart and what Trump triggers in Jim's solar chart. But first, I'd like to start with CNN. Now, if you have looked up the birth time, the actual moment that CNN became a living, breathing entity, if you look on Wikipedia, it says 5 p.m. Eastern time. I don't remember if it said daylight or not. Well, that's not the time that I have. I have the accurate time. And I'll tell you why. Because I was there. I was part of the original talent That was part of CNN. I was their on-air astrologer for a few years after they began broadcasting. And there was a party on the day that they began broadcasting, which was June 1st, 1980. And it went on air, according to my watch and the watches of the people around me, at 6:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And I know it's accurate, as I said, because I was there speaking with all these well-known people, and I was always thrilled that Ted Turner invited America's first licensed astrologer to be on his network, giving political forecasts. When I started doing research today and found these various times, I called my dear friend, Nancy Hart Battaglia, who worked at CNN at that point in time. And she is a former librarian. And as she said, librarians are researchers. So are Scorpios. And so that's two things she's got going for her. And on the History Channel, they said that the birth time was 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, if you check on Google, if you look to see when daylight savings time began, you'll know that CNN was on Eastern Daylight Time, June 1st, 1980. And I have the chart. Now, once again, for those of you who want to record it, 6:05 p.m. Atlanta, Georgia. There is too much information when I do actually 4 comparisons. So I'm going to keep it very, very simple. And I'm going to, first of all, show you what CNN, am I doing that? Yes. What CNN triggers in Trump's chart. And then, because we have birth times, accurate birth times, for both CNN and Trump. Yay! Oh, I love it. So, CNN are the planets in black around the outer edge of Trump's chart. And I'm just gonna, excuse me, use conjunctions because, as you know, conjunctions tell the tale. CNN's sun, that's the giver of life, sits on Trump's Uranus. Now, Uranus in the 10th house is the rebel, the one that keeps us on our toes, the one that does unexpected things. You don't have to be a professional astrologer. If you're just even a novice, you know that Uranus is totally unpredictable, and that's what CNN triggers in him via, in this case, Jim Acosta, who, we'll get to his chart in a moment. The CNN sun also sits on Trump's north node in his 10th house, so it enhances his public image. CNN's vertex, the karmic role in life, this is a very powerful point, and so many new astrologers are not familiar with it. It's your karmic role in life. You have no way of changing it. That's what it is, and it can be marvelous. But when CNN's vertex sits on Trump's north node and his sun, it exerts an enormous influence over Trump's career. Now, it enhances his career, doesn't it? Because it lights up that 10th house. Let's keep on going. And I know that there are other aspects we could take, but conjunctions tell the tale. CNN's Venus and Mercury are both in 1 degree of Cancer, so they're sitting on Trump's Mercury. They're giving him wonderful coverage. Venus is love, Mercury is communication, so it triggers Trump's communication very favorably. Venus, love. So CNN is helping Trump. And Trump is no fool. He's taking advantage of this opportunity. Why would you not if you are in the limelight, if you are in the top slot in the land? Makes sense, right? Then the midheaven, that looks like NC, but it's my handwriting, it's MC, the midheaven. Let me make it clearer here. I hope I don't mess this up. Oh, maybe yes, maybe no. CNN's midheaven, that's its public image, triggers Trump's Pluto. Now, his Pluto is in the 12th house, and Pluto is control. And the 12th house is behind the scenes. And so this is lots of behind the scenes control, and it can be transformation. If the person, in this case Trump, wishes to change, up to Trump. CNN's North Node, the area of greatest success, sits on Trump's Mars, triggering fighting, war, with Mars 2 degrees away from Trump's ascendant. I've mentioned this before on my Trump videos. He's a warrior, he's a fighter, he loves a fight. He lives for a fight. And so CNN encourages that. Not knowingly perhaps, but it becomes very obvious that there is some little animosity there between CNN and Trump. CNN's Jupiter, abundance. Oh, forgot to mention this. CNN's North Node also triggers Trump's ascendant. And so this enhances him. CNN's Jupiter just augments it, makes it even more so, even bigger. It sits on the Mars, which makes him even more of a fighter. It sits on his ascendant, which encourages him to do his own thing. And then there's CNN's Mars sitting on Trump's Mars. Hello, war, fighting, which Trump adores. He excels at this. This is what he's great at. So keep on. Saturn, CNN's Saturn, sits in Trump's first house. It does not make any conjunctions. However, what it does is it can hold him down a little bit. So you see opposite messages is what he's getting. Jupiter, expand yourself. Be the fighter. Saturn, Mars, yeah, fight. Saturn, hold it down. So there is a tamping down of that energy, but not a whole lot because of the Jupiter Mars on the Mars ascendant. Okay. CNN's Pluto, control, sits on Trump's Jupiter, expansion, money, truth, honesty, in his second house. And so there is a control from CNN that involves not just those beliefs, but his money as well. CNN's ascendant, that's the personal approach, the personality, the most personal point in the chart. CNN's ascendant, by the way, is Scorpio, sits in Trump's third house, awakening his communication even more. Trump did not need any help with communication. He's a Gemini, but there's the communication network, the global CNN, augmenting Trump's ideas. Now, Uranus, CNN's Uranus, is in his third house, giving him even more unpredictability when it comes to his self-expression, but it's also on his nadir, or the IC, the fourth house cusp, the foundation of his life, stirring it up, causing trouble in the home. And CNN's Neptune sits on Trump's moon south node. It can either inspire or dissolve Trump's home situation, his emotional situation, because the moon deals with our emotions. And so here is Neptune, confusing things, When someone's Neptune is on your moon, it confuses your emotions. It can confuse your ideas. CNN's moon, what we're instinctively drawn to, sits on Trump's vertex. And so there is a change moon in his role in life because of CNN. Now, I told you I'm keeping this very simple, very, very simple. This is what Trump triggers in CNN's chart. First of all, his Pluto controls CNN's public image. He has a great deal of power over the image that CNN provides. He can change it in a heartbeat. His Mars sits on CNN's North Node. Very interesting, both Trump and CNN have their North Node in the 10th house. The North Node is your area of greatest success and fulfillment. And so with Trump's 10th house, unpredictability and him as leader, that's his success, greatest success, and he achieves it. Look at his track record. It's working for him. Okay, so Mars, CNN's Mars. Excuse me, I am so sorry. I got it backwards. Trump's Pluto, Mars. This is what happens when you got all these charts here. Sits on CNN's North Node in Jupiter. It fires it up. It gets it. If this were a person, they would be having a popularity war. And that's what's going on here. Trump's ascendant triggers CNN's North Node and Jupiter. So actually, they enhance each other. Trump's Neptune sits, dreams, wishes, sits on CNN's Saturn. Saturn is reality. Saturn in the 11th house deals with groups of people. It is the legislative bodies in a country's chart. But what happens here is that Trump can dissolve the authority of CNN when it comes to groups, whether it's political groups or populist groups, any group. Now, Trump's Jupiter expansion sits on CNN's Pluto, and they're digging in even deeper behind the scenes. Both CNN and Trump have Pluto in the 12th house. And so it deals with control. It's easier to change a person very often than a corporation. But because of Trump, there's more behind the scenes control and possibly transformation at CNN. By the way, CNN has Uranus in its first house in Scorpio. Oh, love it. Unique approach. CNN was the first 24/7 global news station. It was truly an honor to be part of it. Now, Trump's Moon South Node bring about a change in CNN's money, in what they have. This is not helpful to CNN, okay? Trump's vertex sits on CNN's moon, and they will change their approach, not necessarily favorably or unfavorably, the way in which they report, the way in which they express themselves. And I think they've illustrated that by initiating this lawsuit against the White House. Okay. Trump's midheaven sits in the 7th house of the CNN chart, initiating other people, relationships, contracts, and CNN's open enemies. It can enhance that situation. Now look at this powerful 8th house. The 8th house is the house of secrets, and I think it's fabulous that CNN has a packed 8th house. By the way, both CNN and Trump are Geminis. My sun is very close to CNN's sun, which is why I think I felt so at home there. Now, Trump's Uranus sits on CNN's sun, triggering rebellion. The way that the 8th house deals with other people's money, it deals with secrets, it deals with the money that your open enemies have, and Trump shakes that up and brings out the tiger in CNN, and that's, I think, what we've been looking at here. Trump's North Node and Sun sit on CNN's vertex, and the vertex in the 8th house is your karmic role in life, of course, and the 8th house vertex means that the vertex undergoes a transformation. Their role in life changes, and it's, you know, don't poke a sleeping tiger. And so that's what's going on here. Now, Trump's Mercury sits on CNN's Venus Mercury, enhancing their ability to share news. And that's what they're doing. And Trump is the news. And so it's win-win both ways. Now, Trump's Saturn and Venus. Saturn is reality, Venus is love and beauty. Saturn can dampen, hold down, or make real where the house that it falls in. This is the 9th house of long-distance communication, correspondence, and transportation. And so Trump can tamp it down by virtue of the fact that he would like to control the news and can enhance it at the same time. Now, there's a lot more to this. I'm giving you the gist of it. Let me now talk with you about Jim Acosta and Trump. We do not have a birth time for Jim Acosta. And this is, as you know, very frustrating for me as an astrologer, but I'll do my best always to give you information. Oh, here we go. Just talk amongst yourselves for a second. Thank you. So I'm going to compare Jim Acosta's solar chart to Trump's actual chart. This, on the inner wheel, we have Jim Acosta's planets. On the outer wheel, Trump. Trump's vertex is rolling light, sits on Acosta's Mars in his 10th house. Mars in the 10th house is a very ambitious placement, particularly since it's in Capricorn. And with a Mars in Capricorn, even a solar chart, Jim's ambitions are very strong, which is probably why he had such high ratings as a reporter. I believe he was the senior White House reporter for CNN. And of course, we know that his credentials were taken away by Trump. So there we go. Trump's vertex, role in life, aggravates Acosta, and he's up there fighting for himself. Trump's Uranus and North Node fire up Acosta's 3rd house of communication. And that would be why he might ask questions which some would feel were inappropriate or impertinent. And he was doing his job, being very unique, very different. And that's what Trump stirs up. Now, Trump's Sun is in Acosta's 3rd house, giving him wonderful ideas. And Trump's Mercury, communication, is in Acosta's 3rd house, giving him lots to say. And that's what we saw on the video. Now, Trump's Saturn Venus puts a damper Saturn on Acosta's home, his foundation. And in this case, it may not be his house where he lives, it could be his CNN home. But Venus comes along and it is enhanced, brings beauty, love. Now, Trump's Pluto, Mars, and ascendant. Pluto is control, Mars is action and power. The ascendant is the most personal point in the chart. Messes with Acosta's south node. That would be his children, that would be his creativity, that would be his fun. It's a solar chart, so it's going to be a little general. Trump's Neptune and Jupiter, very interesting. Neptune sits on Acosta's Pluto, which means that it either inspires Acosta to be more controlling at work, Pluto in the sixth, or it dissolves his control, and taking away his press credentials certainly did that. My handwriting is atrocious, okay? So I apologize. But his Neptune, Trump's Neptune, dissolves Jim Acosta's vertex. In other words, he's got no role. And Trump's Jupiter amplifies Acosta's Uranus. So there, because of Trump, Acosta is even more rebellious. And of course, it works both ways. We saw it act out. Trump's south node and the moon. South node drains, takes away energy. It's sitting on the ninth cusp, close to Acosta's Neptune. And this is not helpful for long distance communication or correspondence. And that's exactly what Acosta does for a living. Now, let's look and see what Acosta triggers in Trump's chart. First of all, Acosta's Mercury is in Trump's ninth house. So he's opening Trump's mind to all kinds of new ideas. And Acosta's Saturn sits on Trump's midheaven, establishing him as a leader. I mean, he doesn't have to establish him, but amplifying his leadership, but also tamping it down. Notice there is reality with Saturn, and Trump is looking at it realistically. Saturn can be wonderful. It can create structures. And so there's Trump being the leader. Acosta's south node, it hits both Pluto and Mars in Trump's chart, the midpoint between them. The south node drains from chart to chart. It takes away the energy. So what Acosta does is take away some of Trump's control and some of his fire. It also sits on his ascendant. In other words, Acosta removes some of the power that Trump has behind the scenes with his employees, with everybody. This is not helpful for Trump. Acosta's moon in the first house, and I forgot to mention that Acosta is an Aries with a Virgo moon. So he is going to be a stickler for details with that Virgo moon. And he's going to insist on getting to the front of the line with that Aries sun. I love it. I just love it. It's too funny. There was something here yes, I don't think I gave you Acosta's birthday. In fact, I'm sure I didn't. April 7, 1971, no birth time listed, Washington, D.C. Excuse me. Okay, back to the moon in the first house changes Trump's approach, makes him more self-protective, doesn't he? Certainly did. He retaliated by revoking Acosta's press credentials. Acosta Acosta's Pluto sits on, Pluto and Vertex sit on Trump's Neptune, triggering a certain amount of control over his money, what he's got. Remember, the second house is more than just money. It's your tangible resources. It's what you got. Now, Acosta's Vertex and Uranus trigger Trump's Neptune and Jupiter. And so there's a whole new approach for Trump when it comes to his money, his belief systems, and Uranus on Jupiter, a lot of rebellion. Acosta's Neptune and Jupiter in Trump's fourth house, they don't touch his moon south node, but they're there, expanding his home base, his family, but dissolving perhaps some of the relationships, inspiring some or dissolving others. It's so hard to tell with Neptune because Neptune is nebulous and nefarious. It's either the highest of divine inspiration or total escape. Acosta's Mars fires up Trump's Vertex, his role in life. It deals with children, it deals with sex, it deals with fun. I dare say that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we'll soon hear about from Acosta. Acosta's North Node in Trump's sixth house can help Trump's employees and help Trump's work. Acosta's Venus in his seventh house can make Trump popular with his open enemies. Interestingly enough, he can find a positive relationship. The two of them can, because of Venus there. I don't know that the other planets would allow for that. Acosta's Sun in Trump's eighth house sheds a light on Trump's secrets, anything that is hidden. You know that Acosta is going to research it. So, I believe I've covered everything. I wasn't sure how much to go into because I was going to do Acosta's solar chart by itself and CNN's chart, but I've given you the birth data and you can look it up yourself, and I'm sure you'll see lots of things that are absolutely fascinating between Trump and CNN. And so I hope you have enjoyed seeing the astrological contacts between Trump and CNN and Jim Acosta. This chapter is far from over, so I'm sure I'll have more information for you very soon. So until we meet again, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours. Bye for now.